All right. Destiny 2 just got a new activity, the Tomb of Elders, and I want to give you my opinion breaking down three of the biggest points that I think are worth mentioning here. So we have first, which is the comparison, of course, to the Prison of Elders. The second one is talking about its comparison to being like a roguelite type of game. And the third one is going to be the loot that you get from this activity. So let's start from the beginning. Obviously, it's called the Tomb of Elders. Contest of Elders is the more difficult activity, more difficult version of it. Now, comparing this to the Prison of Elders back in the D1 days, obviously, it's more difficult than that with the variations and stuff, but there was kind of a peak time in the D1 Year 1 days, and I think a lot of people liked that activity. There was kind of a mixed reception, so let me bring you back if you didn't actually play during the first year of D1. When that came out, when the Prison of Elders came out, a lot of people were kind of salty because we were kind of expecting a raid with each and every expansion in Destiny 1. We had the initial launch of the game, where you had Vault of Glass. The first expansion brought a new raid, which was Crota's End. Now, obviously, it was a much smaller raid. So we were kind of expecting another new raid. And when we didn't get that with the House of Wolves, which is where the Prison of Elders entered the game, a lot of people were salty at that point in time. But the activity still has a sense of nostalgia to it, where people really enjoy the activity. They miss certain elements of it, and they wanted it to come back to a large degree. I think a lot of people shared that sentiment, and I think that it does tap a little bit on that nostalgia, especially as you go through some of these arenas and stuff, and especially as you see Skolas is there. I kind of wish that we fought Skolas in that same way that we did originally, because that was actually really cool. If you haven't ever seen some of that gameplay, I do have some of that on the channel, some of that OG Skolas, right? Back in the day with the solar burn. Does anyone remember that? That was pretty cool. I was also a little bit salty that he didn't scream at the top of his lungs about Psylocke's name out loud, but that aside, I do think that the nostalgia trip was kind of cool. I do enjoy that from Bungie. I thought that, it tapped on that in a good way. However, calling this a roguelite game is an interesting element because obviously roguelite games are much more intricate than this. Now, of course, this is limited time activity, limited time event, so of course it's not going to hit maybe quite as hard as some of the more popular roguelite games out there where that's their main focus. But it would definitely be cool at some point in time if Bungie did come out with a proper roguelite game, something that continues to ascend more and more and more in difficulty. So that way it just gets infinitely more challenging and you can get more, like, just crazier loot. That would be a really, really nice thing to have. I would be a big fan of it being a proper roguelite game or a roguelite game mode, and something that doesn't even have to be seasonal or temporary. It could be like a permanent thing in the game. So let me know if you actually would want something like that, if you would appreciate that challenge. I know not everyone is necessarily dying for the craziest challenges in Destiny 2. They're just playing the game for entertainment and for enjoyment. But I think that the comparisons to roguelike games are a little bit silly because, it's not quite there yet. The variations in this activity are cool. I think that there's some subtle, small variations, but it's not like some crazy mechanic change in such a way that's just dynamic enough for me to be ridiculously impressed. I am impressed that Bungie is trying this though and trying to push that towards that direction. I hope that they do a better job or maybe commit to something more permanent in the future, because I think that this is definitely a step in the right direction. And I personally do place this above Coil. If you haven't done this activity with randoms as well, not having to go around and smash a bunch of pots is pretty nice. So I think I personally place this above Coil. Let me know where it stands in your opinions down in the comment section below. The next part that I have to mention, though, is the loot. I don't know what Bungie was cooking with the loot on this. That was not a good play, though. We have the SMG, the shotgun, and the pulse rifle are the only things. Only two of those three things are new weapons. One of them is a reprised weapon. And obviously the shotgun is very good, and a lot of people will enjoy that inside PvP, but where is the loot at? Why is there not, like, a bunch of new weapons to go along with this? Even when you look at the original Prison of Elders weapons when they first came out, so many more weapons than this. How is this possible? Look at all these weapons. I just pulled this up on the Destiny wiki. You got Wolf Slayer's Claw. We've got the Aegis of the Kell. 6 Dreg Pride. We got all these different weapons. Look at these. Machine gun, everything. Where are these weapons at? Right? Reprise some of these weapons from D1. People will be pretty interested. Come up with some new weapons, Shouldn't be too difficult to bring more than 2 new weapons to this activity. Now, keep in mind, we are obviously midway through an episode, so I'm not expecting, like, so much. I'm not like, man, there should be 10 new exotics with this. Like, of course, we're in Revenant, and this is just Act 2 of Revenant. It is good that there's new things coming out in the middle of this act to keep the population up, and keep the, you know, the general motion of Destiny 2 moving forward. I'm a fan of that. I do like the, you know, how there's just kind of always something to do in Destiny 2. You know, even if it's small, there's kind of always something to do week by week. But I feel like 2 is pretty stingy and could have done a little bit more than that, in my opinion. That's honestly my biggest criticism, is that grinding for this loot doesn't really feel like it's going to be worth it, in my opinion. I don't think I'm going to play this activity for, you know, however long this act lasts. I don't think I'm playing this any longer than just a few weeks, so I don't know what the population is going to feel like after that and how this activity is going to play out. But overall, I do think that, you know, trying out a roguelite is a good start for Bungie, but overall the execution is not going to be, comparing it to that is just not particularly fair, in my opinion. And like I said before, I wish at the end there we got to fight Skolas in his original area. That would have been pretty cool. I would have been a big fan of that. I think that could have made this a little more interesting. And that's a wrap on my opinions of the Tomb of Elders. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I'm going to rate this overall I'm going to rate this a 6 out of 10. Honestly, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. I know it's probably one of my lower ratings for things. I know most people give this safe 7 out of 10, but going 6 out of 10 overall. Unless I see something more develop over the next few weeks, but that's a wrap on this one. See you in the next one. Later.